Okay, awesome. All right. So for everyone else, do keep your questions coming. You can post it in the chat. I promise you we'll have a look at it at our Q&A session. Okay, cool. Okay, so just coming back here, one thing I would like to share about very strong fundamentals is content and is king. Now, content is something that will never go out of fashion. Of course, content is everywhere, but what I'm talking about here is I'm talking about quality content that people would resonate with. For example, if we're talking about a hotel, what's the most comfortable thing that people want to take back from hotel? A good experience, a good time, and also family and so on. Of course, that is generic, right? But how we put that content out there, it's really relative. I can't just give you a secret formula now because every business is different. But generally, the fundamental things that we look at are things like hashtags. Hashtags, having a unique hashtag, for example. For example, if you run ABC Ice Kacang, you want to have like that ABC Ice Kacang hashtag, all right? And also tagging people. So for example, if let's say you run an Ice Kacang store, you want to take photos of people, try and get permission to see whether you can tag them on their page or maybe on their personal accounts and so on and so forth. Hey, can I be your friend? Can we be friends on Facebook? Hey, I tag this person. Now, of course, these are great ways to get the Facebook, the social algorithm to validate the fact that, hey, this guy's content is worth sharing. Why? Because it is not just about himself, he's also talking about people, tagging different people. Now, of course, in terms of storytelling, now Patrick Lau just asked a question, how to create good content for hotel. Now, that's a great question. So happens that we are on the same topic. The other thing that you can probably share, Patrick, will be your journey as a hotelier during MCO. How was it for you? And you can always write about things like, how we miss your guests, how this place used to be empty, and how we want to make it better again. People love authentic content. Now, there's nothing wrong about being open about, the different struggles. People want to know that they're not alone. So, I mean, if I run a hotel, I would probably write about my struggles during MCO, but how I was able to work hard to try and keep everyone together, stay positive. That's one good piece of content idea. Okay. All right. And the other one is photos. Photos are very, very important. Okay. We will go into photos a bit later. Okay. So the thing that I want to talk about here is fundamentally, you got to think long term. Digital is here to stay. So in terms of digital plans, I think we need to talk about building fans and making sure that we can get more people to join, be part of our community. Now, on this note, right? I want to talk about Facebook, for example, because recently Facebook had a very, very big algorithm change, and I want to talk about the fact that organic. If you run a Facebook page, you will probably realize that your organic reach would have dropped quite significantly in the last couple of months, if not years. They've always been trying to get people to spend in terms of advertising. So how do we work around that? What's the loophole? So I wouldn't call it a loophole, but I think it's just a strategy that we can use to complement and work hand in hand with Facebook. So in the case of hotel, I realized that there are a lot of hotels popping up today. So what we can do is, in terms of hotels, having a vacation club or so on, I mean, whatever you call it, right? But creating a Facebook group and having people to join that group. It's very similar to an email newsletter, but instead of having it sent out every month and so on, working in a Facebook group will be good because you are able to keep everyone in there updated about what's happening in your hotel, or maybe what food that you're bringing in, any new surprises that you have. It's a more socially engaging way to interact with people in terms of keeping people posted as compared to a Facebook page. Now, of course, don't get me wrong, start a Facebook page, but also start a group. Why? Because when you invite everyone to be part of this group, when people are part of this group, when you post an update, everyone within the group will receive it, as compared to Facebook page. Now, Facebook page works in a way where if you were to post a photo, only a small, minute number of people who follow you or like you will see that. Why? Because Facebook is a very big promoter of having you to spend money to boost your boost your numbers to make sure that these people reach it, right? So it's kind of like Facebook saying, hey, you know what, you want to reach these people, got to spend money. So Facebook groups is just one way to go about it. Okay. Okay, that's a good question, Juice. Can I come back to you on that? I think we have a subject on that coming in soon. As well as the question from Kavina about real estate. Now that's a good one. We'll come to that. Okay. Okay. So when it comes to just coming back to my point about thinking long term. Now, I'm not shy to admit that TechRabbit is in the business of firefighting. What I mean by firefighting is a lot of our clients come from people who have spent a lot of money on agencies who promise them a lot of results in a very short period of time for a very big sum of money. And what happens is that a lot of times customers get burned, right? And after they get burned, that's where TechRabbit comes in and help fix whatever that has gone wrong. So generally, I mean, I'm not saying we're great, but the thing is that at the end of the day, we believe in thinking long term for digital marketing, because at the end of the day, we all don't have infinite amount of resources to spend, right? So what we want to do is we want to try and work with people to try and get them results, not just boom, hype, A perfect example of this is if you've been on Facebook, some of your trending influencers will only be there for a short period of time. What happens 6 months? They can't be at the top all the time because everyone's trying to fight for their place. Number one. Number two, spending plays a very big role. All these influencers on the time, when you see them on your timeline, you're probably thinking that, wow, they're all at the top there because, they're so popular. But actually, there's a lot of ad spending and media buys that goes on behind that promotes them to be at that level, which is why a lot of times you don't see them at that level all the time. They're always being replaced by other people because new money will come in. So if that's my honest advice, think about long term, think about how you want to build something in the longer stretch. Okay, and third point is you want to focus. Now there are different platforms. I think just now just asked about vlogs. So I think vlogs is a great way to get yourself out there. And if you're coming back to this point, when it comes to focus on one platform that you're most consistent on. In other words, the platform that you're most popular for, right? So if you're on Facebook, again, go on Facebook. Even if people say that, hey, LinkedIn is the next big thing, it's fine. But if there's anything, transition from platform to platform. I'll give you an example. Facebook is my biggest platform now, but I'm also moving slowly towards LinkedIn. Why? Because I believe that LinkedIn is where I want to be next. Am I going to be instantly famous for something in LinkedIn? Well, unless I run around, running around like a madman on the federal highway, that may not be the best ideal way to get popular, right? But generally, go from strength to strength. So if you're focused on one platform, which you are the strongest, slowly begin to move into a different platform. But always start with one platform. Reason why is because social media accounts are becoming like the new Google, where people just go online and, for example, if they want to find out more about you. So recently, I had the opportunity to work with one local cosmetic brand. They're a Malaysian perfume. 99% of their customers come from foreign countries. Why? Because they boost their SEO like crazy in foreign countries and say, hey, when you come to Malaysia, you must buy this perfume. This is the best perfume that you will ever have. It's very unique to Malaysia. Now, when MCO happened, all of them could not come over. And their sales went from sky high to rock bottom, literally zero sales. So what happened was we changed their whole social media platform to look differently to appeal to local market. And of course, with that, when customers come inside the store, or let's say promoters promote products to them, they have a look. Oh, okay, so what's your brand name? So they will search it out on Facebook. Oh, okay, it doesn't look like some China brand, right? Of course, this is very relative, but this was one example that we had to change their social media platform to make sure that it appeals to a certain market. Because and it was through that we discovered that their Facebook became more of a search engine rather than Google. Why? Because they could Google it and it will all pop up. They will not have the right information to make buying decisions. Okay, so essential tools. These are tools that I personally use that has been really, really helpful for me. First one is Snapseed. So if you have a smartphone, I don't do a lot of photo editing on the computer because it just takes too much time. But I work with a lot of mobile photo editing apps. Okay, so I really like Snapseed. I love Snapseed because you can your photos ready to go. Okay, now of course Snapseed was the first software that the first app that I used. The second one that I used was Lightroom. Of course, I had to pay for a course to go and understand how Lightroom works. How can I bring the best out of photographs? I started to work with Lightroom Mobile, and that was an amazing tool. That was really a game changer for me, because the thing is like, wow, I never knew I could take so good photos. Of course, having a good phone is also very important. Having a good camera is very important. Sometimes I work with DSLRs, but I tend to work a lot with my phone. So currently I use I'm not paid. I'm not paid to say this, but if you know anyone in Redmi, please ask them to pay me. I work with Redmi Note 9 Pro. I think I paid about 1,001 back then, 1,002 for it. And of course, it's been a phone that has been serving me really well, because a lot of my photos have been coming very sharp. Yeah. So that's something you need to think about. Of course, if you want to spend, get the top of the line, I think it's great. But generally, if you're looking from a business perspective and you want to keep costs low, the Redmi Note 9 Pro is a phone that I personally use, which is great. Okay, there's the Note 10, but I'm not sure yet, because I read some not so good reviews about it, or at least there were some issues. So I want to wait for that to clear up before we look into it further. Okay, so one is I like to use Viva Video. Now Viva Video is very easy for me to work with video edits on the fly, right? So I've also worked with Adobe Premiere Pro, but then again, Adobe Premiere Pro, I'm not a video guy, right? I just want to create something nice and boom, put it up. So Viva Video is kind of like one of the faster ones that I just use to just get something out really quick. Fourth one, Hootsuite. I actually don't know how to pronounce this. If anyone can teach me how to pronounce this, I use Hootsuite or Hootsuite. I really have no idea, right? But generally, Hootsuite is something that I use for social media management. Of course, we pay for Hootsuite, right? But if you're on Facebook and there's something called publishing tools, business tools, and so on and so forth, if you can use that, that's great. But I've noticed that because from a productivity perspective, we believe in paying for a single platform that can manage both Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, you name it, right? So that takes care of pretty much everything. I can just look at it from a single dashboard and take care of all of my content in advance. So that's what we use. And last but not least, if you're not on Canva, please get Canva, because it's a lifesaver. Like, I cannot work without Canva. I could work without Photoshop, I could work without Illustrator, but I will die without Canva, right? So personally, I'm a huge advocate for Canva, because it is a very cost-effective way for different people to work, getting quality graphic design work out there. Of course, I think given how more and more people are using Canva today, I can sometimes, let's be honest lah, if you're a seasoned Canva user, you probably see like, okay, that one came from Canva. I know that one comes to Canva, and so on and so forth. All right. So more importantly, understand that all these are tools to be able to work with, right? Now, ultimately, you can't work all of this. If you can work all of this as a single person, like what I did, I had to work 18 hours a day for 8 hours for 8 days a week, right? But of course, if you do have a team, it's good to have a team to be able to work around these softwares. Now, I personally believe that all of these softwares have got a paid function, and we do use the paid function, but there are the free functions as well. If you want to try them out, go ahead. It's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with it. Okay, so brings me to my next point, $1 million question. How much do you spend on boosting? So let's open the floor. How much do you think we should all spend on boosting? Let me be the first to answer. Navir says 0. Anybody else? Wow, we got 1 million from Rizal Aziz. Depending on budget. Okay, very careful. David Frederick says 0. 10,000. Okay. ringgit per day. Wow, Patrick, I love your hotel. I must come and visit one day. Okay. Kavina says 1,000 ringgit. Galaxy Note 10 Plus says 50 ringgit per day. I see. No wonder it's so popular. Anybody else? Calling once? Calling twice? Okay, let's move on. So, before you boost anything on Facebook, Instagram, or anything that you work online, you must know that social media boosting is like a drug, right? Belum kena, belum tahu. Sudah kena, hari-hari mau. And that's true. Facebook, what I've noticed is that the moment you boost one time, your organic traffic will drop. Why? Because Facebook and Instagram will expect you to boost. Okay. So more importantly, you need to decide what's your long-term content strategy. Can you afford to boost? Let's say, okay, so Rizal's the rich guy, right? So we ask the richest guy in the room. He spends 1 million. So if you can spend 1 million, you must make sure that you must be able to spend 1 million for the next 5 years at least, right? But if you are looking to spend only 50 ringgit a day, 50 ringgit a day is completely fine if you're able to constantly do it for a longer period of time. Why? It's because whether you budget 1 million ringgit or you budget 50 ringgit per day, what's more important is that if you are running a social media page or a Facebook page based on boosting, Facebook or Instagram would expect you to be boosting consistently. Otherwise, they will cap the amount of people that you can reach within that budget, or at least the number of people. So let's say even if you to have 10,000 people on your Facebook and you have never boosted, there's a higher chance that you will reach that more of the 10,000 people without a boost than reaching 1,000 people with 50 ringgit boost. Am I making any sense? Sorry, maybe I should turn it the other way around. If you have 1,000 people that you have built with zero boosting, there's a higher chances that you can reach that higher number of people as compared to 10,000 people with no boost, with boosting organically. Okay, so be clear about your organic growth or paid growth. Okay, now of course, if you're running a product base where there's not much differentiation, then organic growth may be very difficult. Why? Because if let's say you created your own shampoo and you want to promote your own shampoo organically, it's going to be a bit of a tough call because you're going to be against giants, FMCG giants who spend thousands, if not millions, on boost. So again, it comes back to the category. I cannot give you a cookie cut answer in this, but generally we can always work around some basic fundamentals again. So plan ahead with the budget. So if you're an SME, generally SME between 250 to $500,000 in terms of turnover sales. Usually, if you can afford to spend 1,500 to 2,000 ringgit a month, that would be a reasonable budget. Please don't go and spend 10,000 ringgit if you cannot afford. Remember, you have to take that 10,000 ringgit to stretch it as long as you can. In terms of startup, if let's say you're a small starting up startup, it's okay to start with smaller amount of boosting. But more importantly, remember, the keynote here is that we want to be able to take our dollar and stretch it as long as we can. So not necessarily have to spend 1,500 all in a month, but you can always stretch it to sometimes 3 months if you can afford it. All right. Otherwise, start small. Again, there's no hard and fast rule about this. Work within what works for you. Okay. So when it comes to order of priority, now at TechRabbit, we work on a very strong fundamental basis. Why? Because we are really serious about building brands rather than trying to create hype. Okay. So when it comes to businesses, we always want to help companies establish credibility first. So before you even boost, right? If you are working on a short-term strategy, you want to just have sell a million masks and you know your margins, then you want to hit it on a short-term basis, by all means do. But if you're looking to build a service-based business or at least something that's a bit more long-term, then you need to work on credibility. Why? Because if you come back to the perfume example, if you have no credibility, your website looks like a mess. Whenever you spend the money and you boost it, right? What happens is that when people come back and see you ready to buy, but they just want to validate something, they look at your page, not very nice, then you may have spent the money, but you may have not converted the sale. So fundamentally, you must have a very strong website, or at least a social media account that looks credible. Why? Because people scared to get scammed, right? So second one is content. So do you have a content strategy as well as a team to execute it? Why? Because an idea is an idea until it is executed. Okay. And last but not least, have you allocated a budget to boost your content? Right? Why? Because if you were to boost content with no credibility, with no social media content, then what happens is that your returns are only very short. It's only that short period of time. But if let's say you were to have a strong credibility with strong content, whenever you boost it, it's really like coffee in the morning. It gets you started, it gets you going throughout the day until at the end of the day, you're tired, you go back, you sleep, you wake up again, you have another cup of coffee. All right.